Hi, my name is Sergeant Jim Wagner. I'm a law enforcement officer in the United States. Many of you know me from my many DVDs and articles I write for Budo magazine. And I'm here today because I'm introducing a friend of mine, Sergeant Uri Cafe. Now, all of you know I teach the reality-based personal protection system based on law enforcement, correction, military units, and of course the martial arts. Now, there's many people out there teaching what they call Israeli martial arts. And there's a lot of instructors out there. However, many of these instructors have never been to Israel. They've never been in an Israeli military unit. They never have been an officer there. And so a lot of these people are phony. Well, the man, Uri Cafe, and the Sergeant Uri Cafe is not a phony. How do I know? Because when I was in Israel training for the Israeli government, he was one of the guys I hooked up with. I've trained with him on military bases. I've trained with him in police stations. I've trained with him at the Tel Aviv University. And this guy is the real deal. And what he's going to teach you dealing with Israeli firearms disarms is going to probably save your life if you're ever confronted with a criminal or terrorist. So I hope you enjoy this DVD, and it's definitely reality-based.
You! Hey, to the car right now! Hey, stay away!
Don't move or shoot.
Hi, my name is Uri Cafe. I'm a current Kapop instructor in the United States for the last 2 years. I've studied under Lieutenant Colonel Chaim Pe'el and under Major Avi Nardia from Yamam, Israeli Special Forces Anti-Terror Unit. Today in this video, we're going to show you the principal guidelines and features of weapons disarming. Part of our system, CQB, which is a military term for close quarter combat. Part of our tapes that we're going to include today would be disarming a weapon, a firearm, mainly pistols, but we're also going to talk on the difference between weapons. As like I said before, it's part of our system, part of our modern martial arts training. We got a few guidelines that we're going and we're sticking to those guidelines. Pretty much is like our mottos. It's rather be a student of reality, the master of illusion. And also another term that we're using is it's better to be a student most of the time and sometimes just to be a teacher. Pretty much for that tape, we got another motto that we're going to stick to is a firearm will run out of ammo. Edged weapon will not. Part of our martial arts training is to make a difference and to evaluate the weapon to see what we can overcome and what is going to create a problem for us. And in this video, you will see the principle, and also it's going to break a lot of myths about a lot of other systems that you would actually see, and it would be easy for you to identify mistakes as far as weapon disarming and other martial art, and you would identify the mistakes according to our current guidelines. Okay, we're going to start talking about the 7 principles, the 7 guidelines of gun disarming. The first rule, that without it everything else is no significance at all, is the field of fire. The field of fire is something that I will emphasize all the time. We got to keep that first rule. If that rule is not established, then everything else has no use. It is the core of every technique of a gun disarming, stepping out of the field of fire. I will start in a very submitting position when my hands are up. Not like so. I want to keep them close because from here I got to operate the technique. I have to have my hands close to my body. The next stage is clearing out the field of fire. First guide rule, move my body out of the way. I don't know what kind of projectile is it. That's why we call it field of fire, not line of fire. Maybe it's a fragmentation. Maybe it goes everywhere. Maybe it's a single projectile. I do not know that. Got to keep my other hand clear and out of the way. You can see also as I divert Mark's hand, I give him a little bit of a pull and get him out of balance. Okay, let's continue to talk about the field of fire. Stepping out the field of fire, like I mentioned, it's the core of the technique of any gun disarming we're going to perform today. Okay? Starting again from a position, my hands are closed towards my body. I have to operate quickly from here. I don't have time to raise them up. From submissive position, a non-aggressive position. I'm going to step out, field of fire. It's important to check that all my limbs are tucked in and not in the way. I give my attacker a slight pull. As I reach up, I block the hammer from striking the firing pin, turning inside my attacker's body. Now, as you can see, even if a misfire goes, it would go directly into his body. If not, my thumb is always going to be in the way between the firing pin and the hammer. The most significant part is to get out of field of fire, blocking the hammer or creating the misfire into his body. Later on, I can have knees, headbutts, elbows, shoulder bumps, but before that, the guideline, step out the field of fire, trapping in, you can either trap or discharge it into his body. Okay, let's talk about what not to do. You'll see a lot of those techniques are performed in Israeli martial arts that pretty much can get you killed by not understanding and not keeping the field of fire. Even if you stepped out of the field of fire, you got to maintain to be out of the field of fire. You don't want to go back into the field of fire even if you stepped out of it. I'm just going to demonstrate now what not to do. As you can see, I stepped out and got back in the field of fire. Mark is on the ground, but I'm directly in his projectile line. Okay, still staying in the field of fire. Another common mistake is after I'm out of the field of fire is attacking the guy and making a lot of mean faces and elbows. What you're going to accomplish by that is a very angry person on the ground holding a gun at you. Okay? Second of all, we emphasize in our system to open palm strike. By open palm strike, I would achieve safety of my own hand. Pretty much, if I hit with the knuckles and I get Mark right in the head, most likely I'm going to break a finger or a knuckle. In the tactical thinking, it's not really smart since I need to operate most likely that pistol or any other weapon for that matter, and I want my fingers in handy. So, by just punching the guy, creating him to fall on the floor, it's not going to make me any good. Again, what not to do. And I got shot. Okay, still in the field of fire. We're going to talk about the field of fire as being diverted away from me by either a distraction, by my attacker, whether it's a terrorist or a criminal, going in a bus, going in a plane, any possible scenario possible, or by a third person coming into the area. Okay, field of fire, as of now, shifted from directly towards me to a third person or to another source. In that case, when the gun is presented from this side, all I have to do is take that time in order to perform a snatch and a gun retention. By saying gun retention, I'm going to keep the slide not close to my body. It might get caught in my clothes or any other tactical accessories. If I'm a law enforcement military member, I'm going to keep the slide sideways, keep my hand as a shield, keep my leg as a shield, and from here, I can release the shot. Again, distraction comes from the other side. Okay, let's go back about the field of fire. I got to control and maintain the field of fire here. As I step in, they got another common system of diverting the line of fire, or the field of fire, stepping out as I go in and turning inside with my hip. Now, this is a good technique. The false, we found it, and some bad points, again, is a good technique, but there's few bad points, disadvantages more likely, is that here I got the power of one thumb compared to all 4 fingers. Also, the fact that the thumb is placed right here gives me the ability to control the trigger here, the trigger guard, the hammer, and the slide much better because, like I said, 4 fingers are better than 1 thumb. Okay, so the same technique, instead of here and getting closer, tap, block the hammer. If I can block the trigger guard. Also, I got control over the magazine. I got a magazine well right here. As soon as I press the magazine releaser, the magazine is going to drop. I still might have a bullet in the chamber, but now I eliminate the possibility of 10 or 15 rounds, depends on the weapon itself, to 1 chambered single shot. Again, stepping out of field of fire, coming from above, and stepping in. I got the option of dropping the mag. I'm blocking the hammer with my thumb, and my grip is much stronger here. Okay, we're going to talk about the second guideline of weapon disarming. Number 2, understanding how to use the weapon, understanding the weapon itself as a mechanism, and how to utilize it. There are many weapons out there. Rifles, as you can see, shotguns, handguns, revolvers, pistols. Every single one of them is an individual and a different mechanism. In order to do a proper weapon disarm, we got to understand the mechanism of the gun, identify the mechanism of the gun, and according to that, we got to respond. If I'm going to respond to a shotgun the same way I'm going to respond to a pistol, I might be in a lot of trouble. Different mechanism, different reaction for me. Field of fire to every single one of them. That's the main goal I want to achieve, is stepping out the field of fire. But in order to do that, to go to the second stage, I must understand the mechanism of it. Because it's a mechanism, I can create a malfunction. A mechanism got to have some kind of a system inside in order to keep it flowing every time over and over again. Knowing and understanding that mechanism, I can control the way I'm going to jam it and create a malfunction. Unlike edge weapons that they never jam, since they're one big chunk of cutting metal that never runs out of ammunition. In guns, and any weaponry in general, all of that is canceled if I know to recognize and to understand the proper mechanism, identify it, and according to that to react. Okay, we're going to talk about also not just the mechanism itself. I also got to understand and identify some kind of accessories that are on the weapon. One of the most common accessories is the sling. Sling is used to carry the rifle, as you can see here, connected all the way from the bottom, from the stock, up to the barrel. I'm going to utilize the sling in order to perform a takedown technique. And the finish. Okay, we're still in a mechanism of the gun, identifying a mechanism of the gun. As you can see, Mark here is pointing a pistol, a semi-automatic pistol at me. Now, the thing about pistols is it's got an independent slide. The hammer that drops on the firing pin is actually what's going to cause the fire. Everything is going to start by Mark pressing on the trigger. Now, what I'm going to talk about right now is a suicide drill, as we call it. When everything else fails, you know the guy is serious, you know that's your only way out. Pretty much the Russian style of it is by pushing forward and attaching the wrist. Now, if Mark here is going to press the trigger, you see the hammer is still cocked back, but it doesn't go off. Why? Because the mechanism of the gun. The slide just jam the springs that are in charge of dropping the hammer on the firing pin. Okay? This is a very risky situation, a very risky way to perform that technique. It's a Russian system. Back in Israel, that it's not really popular. We don't like it just because of the simple fact that I don't want a full loaded gun pointing really close and tight into my body. Therefore, we choose another option, especially if I got a little bit of a distance and I see the guy's intention are serious. What I'm going to do pretty much from here, I'm going to grab the wrist to fix his hand in place and at the same time jam and slide forward the slide. As I do that, I might get shot in my hand, but that's the sacrifice I'm going to take. And quickly as I can, I'm going to slide my hand onto the chamber and at the same time holding and fixing his wrist in place. Now you can see as Mark is going to press the trigger, nothing is going to happen. And from there on, we're going to carry the techniques. I'm going to demonstrate in one fluid motion.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Okay, let's go through the movement and analyze pretty much what I'm going to do. Again, this is an unrecommended suicide technique that with everything else fails, this is most likely what I'm going to perform. As the guy points the gun from a distance, I want to step out, feel the fire, jam by sticking my hand into the barrel. As I do that, I fix his wrist in place, sliding down the slide. All the way, he presses the trigger. You can see the hammer is not going to go off because of the slide being pulled backwards. Away, feel the fire, ballistic arch towards him. Now, in any given moment, I decide to let the slide go. If he doesn't pull the trigger, guess what? I'm going to help him out with that, but this time it goes straight into his body. Okay, another variation for the same drill, the suicide drill. Again, highly risky, but if everything else fails, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Feel the fire and jam right in. You can see he's trying to shoot. He's pulling the trigger. Nothing goes off. Straight in. Now, if the trigger is a problem, is an issue for me, I can go straight for a wrist break. You can see I fix here the hand. His wrist is squeezed against mine, and I create pressure, breaking the right wrist. Another option for me to do is just slide sideways and have the gun straight in my hand. Okay, let's go back to the rifle, analyzing the move and usage and utilize of the sling, a common accessory most rifle and assault rifles have today. Stepping again outside field of fire, holding at all times, controlling the barrel. Switching hands, getting inside, softening my target, going nice and deep into a sling choke. Taking a step back, if the guy's tall, kick the knee fold, maintain control as I choke inside. Okay, I'm going to talk about what not to do. Again, going back to common mistakes you see in in plenty other Israeli martial arts. Again, by not understanding the mechanism and body posture, I can get myself killed instead of survive or save myself. We're going to talk about a very common position, very basic one, a gun threat directly to the head from the front. Okay, we'll see that technique very often. As you can see here, my groin is fully exposed. Okay? If I'm standing here, I pop it up, I expose myself, all Mark needs to do is get me on the ground and pretty much execute me right there. The third mistake, third option that can go wrong, same thing here. He pushes me down. I still hold the gun, boom, right in the face. As you can see, even if we're going to perform it again, even if I'm not going to fall, as I pop it up, he's going to pull. I still got the gun in my face right now. So all those three options of getting killed pretty much are coming from that wide stance. In a tactical thinking and a tactical decision, doing this can get you easily killed. All he needs to do is either kick, push forward, or push backwards. Okay, let's see what we can do to fix it and pretty much correct ourselves, and we will see that I want to get more stable. Unlike the other posture I was before, same thing, a straight gun threat coming from forward to my forehead. Instead of doing this, that was wrong, what I want to do is step back and extend my hands. Again, start from the surrender position, maintain your arms not high, do it close. As I do this, I step back and extend my arms. Also, by accomplishing this, I can get my attacker out of balance. Yet, at the same time, I stay very stable on the ground. Okay, let's talk about also a common mistake we've seen before that is pretty much out there. Yes, I do step back, but look where my hands are, straight on the gun. Now, Mark here is a pretty strong guy. If I force him down and he forces me back, he takes me, pull me towards him, I'm exactly in his field of fire. From here on, I'm not going to make it. Okay, in order to understand the next technique, pretty much it's body mechanics. When I do this and I control the wrist, there is no way he can resist it. Mark resists. It's hard to resist just because I'm pressing the tendons right here, creating pressure, making it hard for him to contract his fist. By doing that, I will accomplish a less firmer grip, breaking his grip, and controlling the gun. Again, one more time. From here, dropping up. Mistake. He can force it, he can resist it, pull back, line of fire. From here, all goes straight to him. He cannot resist. Gun threat to the head from the front. Step back, hands pop up. Pressure right here on the tendons, just below the wrist. Gun is held firmly with my right hand, and as I go forward, creating an arch all the way towards him, pushing him down, and forcing the gun in his face. Now, if Mark is going to insert his finger in the trigger, we also got a finger lock. If I'm going to squeeze hard enough, eventually he's going to release and discharge the bullet right towards himself. Again. Okay, in addition to a gun threat into the head, as Mark points it towards my head, the same thing. Pop down, reduce my height. Now, if I held the gun firmly, the first round went off. But since I'm holding the slide, I created a malfunction because the extractor here of the chamber is jammed with an empty shell. From here, I'm just going to carry on with the technique as I did it so far. Create an arch, forcing him down by extending everything I did in the previous technique. Taking control of his arm, ripping the gun out. Now, I still have to maintain control of my attacker and take him down from here. For the sake of demonstration, I can do it on every side, pretty much either it's closed, holster, belt. With my rear sights, I'm going to shake the gun a couple times and bring it back into an operating position. Okay, going back to understanding the weapons. From the minute I have a gun in my hand, it's nothing but a piece of metal if I never held one, let alone shot one. Okay, so if I never held or shot a gun, it's part of the studying and understanding of gun disarming. I have to go to a shooting range under a certified instructor and get trained. Understand the mechanism, shoot it, see how it reacts, how it feels. Once I get that, I will have a better understanding of the mechanism, meaning that I will have a greater knowledge of how to operate my gun. As you've seen before, I held my attacker in one hand before and using the other hand in order to control the weapon. Now, in order to do that, I have to know the principles of shooting and operating a gun single-handed. Let's say my other hand is occupied at the moment. I got to know how to clear the jam. I got to know how to clear the mechanism in order to make it active again, in order to make it possible to shoot with. I got rear sights on the gun. I'm going to grab a hold, whether in a holster or in a belt or in any fold of my body, clearing the chambers and utilizing again. Now, in any case of malfunction, whether my hand is injured or preoccupied, I have to go in certain position to release magazines, reload magazines, recock the weapon, and utilize it in any way or any threat, eliminate any threat that might come in my way. Okay, the second position is attack from the rear, attacking from the back. It's a very dangerous position because now I cannot really see fully my attacker. But I do have my peripheral vision. My peripheral vision helps me to identify whether he's holding a gun or just placing his finger instead of a gun. I need to see on which hand is he holding the gun, maybe just putting his finger. I need to see if he's serious, maybe it's someone I know. Okay? Always as a guideline rule, if I'm going to turn to the right, I'm going to create a distraction by lifting my hands up and talking to the left. Now, he would probably expect me to turn this way. Yet, in the same time, what I'm going to do is talk to my left, slide my arm slightly, and pivot to the right. As you can see, I trap the hand on the wrist, securing the barrel, pointing it to his face. From here on, I can perform the strikes and punches that I want. I can tear the gun, headbutt, grab knee, come back with the gun, come back with a gun retention. This would be performed from the right side. We also got the option to perform it through our left side. Now, pretty simple. If I perform it on the right side, I would talk with my head turning left. If I'm going to turn to the left side, just opposite. I'm going to talk to the right. He would expect me to turn from here. Also, again, try to identify whether he's holding a gun and maybe he's holding it on his opposite hand. So as I look right, I turn left towards him, holding the wrist, nothing above it or nothing below it, securing the wrist, strike, escort it with an elbow, secure the gun, getting the knee inside, striking, going back in a gun retention position. Okay, let's talk about a very important subject as part of, we got the technical part. Let's talk about evaluating the situation. Evaluating the situation is pretty much understanding the state of mind of your attacker, to realize your own state of mind, because a gun threat is not any bar fight or just a brawl or someone pushing you. It's an immediate, crucial, life-threatening situation. It's something that it's either you get out of or not, pretty much 50-50. That's why it's really important to evaluate your attacker's situation, his state of mind. Maybe someone pulls a gun at you. Hey, give me your money. Give me your wallet. Give me your watch. You give it to him. Sometimes it's just not worth the fight. You know, everything can be replaced. Your life cannot be replaced. If your life is in danger, if your loved ones' lives are in danger, then you got to operate. If you know the guy is just a punk that is looking to get some change or to get your wallet or your watch, just hand it over. If you see that the guy has got serious intentions, such as a terrorist attack, or the guy is really determined to kill you or create you any serious bodily harm, you don't operate. You do not think, you operate. And from that time on, everything is in one motion. Go forward, eliminate that attack. Okay, knowing the state of mind is also reading the body language, showing signs of aggressiveness, fear, intentions. Maybe the guy, like I said, maybe the guy is not wanting to kill you. Usually people that are held at gunpoint are pretty much want something from you. In most cases, they want to take something from you. They don't want to take your life. Therefore, you got to evaluate the situation properly. For example, if I'm stressed out or if I'm aggressive towards my attacker, that's why I told you, get your hands up. Don't get in a fighting position and don't get aggressive with your attacker, because he might retaliate and more aggressive coming out of fear. A lot of psychology is involved with that. We're not getting into that aspect. But pretty much what we want to maintain is calmness. I want to be calm as much as I can be when a gun with a live round inside is held to my head or my body. I want to stay calm. I want to remember my training. Before, it's really crucial we go through the technique and train a lot. Train them and go over them and over and over and over until they're in our muscle memory, and we just operate those technique, perform the technique, and execute them like they are second nature, like a reflex to us. I got to maintain calm. You can go through practice 1,000 times, but when it really comes to that, you have to stay calm and remember that there's only one shot. There is no second chance here. Also, we got to identify, like I said, signs of aggressiveness with our attacker. Again, if he is determined to kill us, a suicide move, like we discussed before, might be in handy or necessary to perform and to save our lives or our loved ones. If not, let him go with the technique. Let him go with the money, with the wallet. Perform the technique, and keeping the technique only for last resort. If I don't have any option, if everything else fails, maybe I can talk him out of it. Maybe I can just cooperate and save my life. If everything else fails, this is where those techniques are come in handy. That's why they're very risky techniques, but they've been proven to work in most cases. There's never 100%, but in most cases, if executed properly, if staying and remaining calm, you might have a very good chance of saving your life from a gun attack, a robbery, any weapon, assault, or intention to harm you.